This is the American Indians, Indigenous Peoples' Truths. Justice for all, the most dangerous show on media anywhere. OCO, Taishu, and greetings. I'm Jay Winter Nightwolf, and this is the Indigenous Peoples' Truths. Justice for all, the most dangerous show on media anywhere. I would like to welcome all of you that are our regular viewers and our new viewers. Maybe by surprise, you decide to check us out. I don't think you will be disappointed. We have.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Sandra. I'm looking right at you. How you doing tonight, sweetheart?
I'm doing well. Welcome to Wednesday.
Absolutely. So anyway, I have two amazing guests, and both of them have been friends of mine for between 25 and 30 years. My first guest is familiar, but not a stranger to this broadcast. Her name is MARILYN VANN. And MARILYN VANN is a Cherokee woman with Black heritage. MARILYN VANN is the president of the Cherokee Freedmen's Association. And she's been in this crazy civil rights fight for Indians that just happen to have Black blood and Black folks that have Indian blood. Welcome to the show, MARILYN.
Well, I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you, sir.
Where do you live now?
Oklahoma City.
Ah, OKC. All right. Anything
Hi,
else?
Marilyn.
Is there
Hello.
Is there anything else you want to say about yourself before we get started?
Well, I have known that I'm a Cherokee since I was 5 years old, and I did not formally try to join the nation until I was an adult, and I was really shocked that there was discrimination, but that's a long story.
All right, we're going to get into parts of that tonight. My next guest is my very good dear friend, my brother, Stephen Heape, who is the president of Rich Heape Film, that have produced amazing movies and docudramas over the years. And just to mention a few, Our Spirits Don't Speak English, about the boarding school situation that went on in the United States. A Trail of Tears, An American Story, and Black Indians. And on top of that, he's my good friend. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Jay. It's great to see you as always.
You too.
Hey, Steve.
So you got MARILYN VANN, and you got Sandra Hope, and you got me.
Sandra and MARILYN, it's good to see you as well.
It's good to see you again too, sir.
Thank you.
So shall we get started with this conversation? MARILYN, you've been fighting this issue for the equal rights and tribal rights of Indians that just happen to have Black blood. It's been a long road for you, haven't it? hasn't it?
Yes, yes, it has been, sir.
And it even brought you at some point to Washington, D.C. to fight for the Cherokee freedmen. I remember meeting you, I think it was over 20 years ago, in Oklahoma at the Red Earth Powwow. And we had a chance to talk along with Dr. Allison Parker, who found you and told you that Nightwolf is here and brought me over to your table. And that was where our relationship and friendship started. And when I heard your story, I couldn't help but jump in the middle of it. And it finally ended up in federal court in Washington, D.C., where Judge Kennedy made a finding and a ruling and said to the then chairman, then chairman of the Cherokee Nation, Chad Smith, that you will readmit these people into the tribe and their grandchildren and next 7 generations, and all of the benefits that everybody else that's a Cherokee in that tribe have is theirs to have as well. Do you remember that fight?
Certainly. The Judge Kennedy, he was he ruled in favor of the Black Cherokee freedmen, and again, Mr. Smith was the chief. There was appeals going back and forth. Finally, Judge Kennedy retired, and then we got Judge Hogan, and he ruled in favor. That was there were no more appeals, and so that pretty much settled it. That was 2017. So it was a long, long fight.
Steve, you are a member of the Cherokee Nation as well, aren't you?
I am, yes, proud member.
And I think some conversations that we had on a past radio broadcast, and you said you grew up there and you saw all of these people that just happened to be Black and Cherokee, and you said, I wonder what happened to them. You remember saying that?
Yeah, actually, I was from reading the inventories of the Trail of Tears when people landed in Park Hill, and the Black Cherokees or the freedmen were considered as chattel.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they were described in the inventory, across 2 mules and a wagon full of goods and their slaves. I don't know if they really looked at them as slaves. They were more of a family at that time. But that really sparked my interest. I said, what happened to all these people? You don't hear anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we got into it, I learned about the freedmen and their struggles actually I was making this film during the time that Chad Smith was running for chief. And I told him about this, and he kind of denied the whole existence. Threw me back a little bit, but I said, no, there's a story here that needs to be told. So we went forward with it, and I'm really glad we did.
Absolutely. And I think you had the extreme honor of having Black Indians, an American Story, narrated by the great James Earl Jones. And as we know, James is also Native as well.
Yeah, he, quite frankly, I was looking for someone to narrate this. His name came up, and I said, we probably have a fairly slim chance of him wanting to be involved in this. Yet I sent the script to his representative, and she said, all I can promise you is that I'll get this script to him. She did, and Mr. Jones called me on a Sunday afternoon, and he said, I'm interested. Could you tell me about this project? And I thought for sure this had to be one of my friends gigging me somehow. I settled down and realized it really was him. We discussed the the project, and he was very much in favor of it, and said, let's proceed forward. And then he subsequently also did. He was very pleased the way that turned out, and he also did our Trail of Cherokee Legacy.
I can imagine him saying to you, Stephen, of course I'm interested.
Well, he called me up and he said, may I speak to Stephen Heape? And I said, you're speaking. He said, this is James Earl Jones. And I went, come on, really? And like I said, it took me a couple minutes to really understand that it was him on the phone. So after that, we had a good conversation.
Wow.
Okay.
He remains a friend to this day. And, at 90 years old, he's still active. But he is the most believable voice in the world.
Yes, yes. Marilyn, someone just sent a question in, and his name is Stephen Redclay. And he says, do you believe your Cherokee ancestors were here before the Europeans, or do you believe they came here from Africa by the Europeans?
Well, my Cherokee Indian ancestors were here before the Europeans. I mean, after all, when Columbus never actually came here. When other invaders came here on boats during the 1500s, for example, they met people here. The Cherokee Nation was on what's now the East Coast. Well, it is the East Coast.
Eastern Band, yeah.
Yes, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, a vast stretch of territory. And then my ancestors who were from Africa, they came here after the Europeans. So that's the history.
Right, okay. And you got the history, and there's no questions. Who are some of the leading Black Cherokee citizens after the 1866 treaty was signed?
Well, the Black Cherokees, freedmen, really thrived after the treaty was signed, and the majority of the tribe accepted the treaty, changed the tribal constitution, which had been discriminatory against people with African ancestry. But one of the leading Black Cherokees was Stick Ross. I have heard that he was descended from either Chief Ross or a member of his family. I'm not positive, as I'm not a Ross. But Ned Irons, he served on the council as well as Stick Ross. Fox Glass, there was a man named Zach Foreman who was a leading Black Cherokee. I know several members of the Foreman family, several members of the Ross family, Jerry Alberti, a lot of the, a good friend of mine who lives in California. He's an Alberti, descended from former Councilman Alberti. In the Cherokee Nation, the freedmen, the Black Cherokees, they received their education as part of the tribe. They were able to go into business. And so things were going very well until Oklahoma statehood happened. And then things started really going downward.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. Also, what was the participation of Black Cherokees as tribal members between 1866 and the Oklahoma statehood? Was it a big participation there?
Oh, yes. There were the Black Cherokees, freedmen. Again, they went to schools. You had people who were principals. You had people who were farmers. You had people who were interpreters. Because, I mean, the Cherokee freedmen were, as members of the tribe, they spoke Cherokee just like everyone else. And all of them did not speak English. Some of them had to be interpreters at the time of the Dawes Commission. You had people who, when the federal government came down, senators, and they did field hearings, they asked, well, do you want to be U.S. citizens? And the people nobody wanted to be a U.S. citizen because the Cherokee, being a Cherokee, was their nationality. And it's, you know, you had black people coming from the South who were trying to get away from Mississippi and Alabama and Jim Crow laws, which in 1880, 1890, those laws were not there in the Cherokee Nation.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Steve,
And
go ahead.
yeah, I was going to connect something you said, Marilyn, to one of Stephen's films. So one of the films among your portfolio, Steve, is called "Our Spirits Don't Speak English: Indian Boarding School," and as part of the American Indian Society, every year, some members of the American Indian Society will go to Pennsylvania, to Carlisle, and put flowers on the graves there. So when that film was made, what is something about that maybe caught you by surprise, something you weren't familiar with, or maybe something that that you that really caught you, that just really hit your spirit in the making of that film?
Well, specifically about Carlisle, Riverside Indian School out in Riverside, California, were all of the unmarked graves for Indian children that died while under the care of the federal government, and went as far as burying these kids without a headstone, without knowing who they were. And those are, I mean, they're still there today. They still have people to visit the grave sites, and yeah, I think that would probably be the biggest surprise I had, that no one had kept track of these children had gone.
And the
And think about the
Pennsylvania-
parents that were waiting to hear from their kids and never did.
Yeah, and I think occasionally they, for whatever analysis they are able to do, they are occasionally able to identify some of those who some of those remains belong to, and they will move them home.
Yes.
But of course, a lot of them are never identified, and we know that there were multiple bodies in the same grave, and so there's all these nuances about that just really break your heart. But
Yeah, another thing that really surprised me were the parents that would move to the school, and you would see housing or teepees set up in front of the school, camped not far away. And that was really the only way they could stay in touch with their kids. But that's why they also had so many runaways, that the kids just basically got tired of being there, and they felt they needed to get home. But they were typically returned right away.
Well, actually, that was the most violent part of a Native child back then. These federal agents would come to reservations and round these children up and tell their parents, this is law, they must go. What they were trying to do, when those children arrived, they cut their hair, they took their clothes, they took their regalia, they sprayed them with this insect stuff, made them take a shower, and then dressed them up like little white people. And that was actually their intention. Well, we can't kill all of them. We've killed over 1 million of them, but they just keep coming back. So we'll turn them into little white people. We'll get them in these schools and brainwash them. But not only that, these children were abused, they were raped, and I could tell you so much more that happened to them.
Oh gosh, they were sterilized. All these atrocities was terrible.
And then
there were Taino children there as well.
Yeah. But the other thing, the point that I'm trying to make is that this was another form of genocide of Native people.
Yes.
And a lot of these kids were deliberately murdered. And they dug these mass graves out back of the school. They're beginning to uncover more and throw these children in the graves and have their schoolmates to throw dirt on them to bury them. The most vicious and evil thing.
Yeah, a lot of these children were products of sexual abuse, and it's said that a number of them were killed for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that, obviously they didn't want anyone discussing this outside of the school. So if that went on, they suddenly found themselves in a grave, which was very unfortunate.
And a lot of these kids were shipped there from 2,000 and 3,000 miles away from their homes. No way to talk to their parents. They didn't know English, so they couldn't write letters. I mean, folks, you watching this broadcast tonight, how would you feel if the federal government knocked on your door and said, we're taking your children? Well, what are you going to do with them? We're going to educate them. But they're already in school. No, we don't want them to learn that stuff. We're going to take them hundreds and thousands of miles from where you live. What would you do? I know what I would do. And they'd probably come and arrest me for shooting some people.
Yeah.
My children are my children. They were given to me by the Creator. And you have no say-so over my children.
And there are so many people. This isn't a thing that is happened years ago and is gone. There are still many people alive who were forcibly sent to boarding school, and they live with that trauma, and then their children live with the same trauma because it's passed down. Late Dennis Banks was in boarding school when he was a child, and he ran away. But it happened to so many people. And you think something like this, that was back in the day,
Well, 1971 or 72 is when Richard Nixon turned over the educational rights to the different tribes and nations. I think that was a huge benefit. And they said, we're going to allow you to educate your children the way you want to. And, that's one huge benefit that Nixon is known for, not really public much. He was an advocate for the Indians, no question about it.
Yes, he was. They can say what they want to say about Tricky Dick. He did have a heart.
Yeah.
Marilyn, I'm waiting for you.
Yes, it's true.
Marilyn.
Yeah, well, no, Nixon, he ended the termination, formally. Tribes began to get their federal recognition back. Your contracts. Yes, Nixon did some good things for tribes. There's no question about it.
I think one of the biggest enemies of our people has always been these rolls. When white people started counting Indians and putting them on rolls and telling them that you're Indian because you're on this roll, that's a bunch of crap. And
there's a lot of them that didn't want to sign that roll.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to sign the roll knowing that everybody's going to know where you are and how to get in touch with you?
How to track you down.
Yeah.
Dennis Banks, he was a very close friend of mine. And he actually stayed here several times when he came to Washington with the longest walks and the marches that came across America. And I had an opportunity to sit down with him and ask him, Dennis, what was it like? He says, well, I can tell you one thing. There was a little boy from a different tribe. And for some reason, the priest just kept picking on him. And he said, I caught something in my head that something wasn't right about this. He said, and then I protected him. He said, I know what that priest was up to, but I wouldn't let him take this little boy because he's a friend of mine. And this whole thing about this Catholic religion, you know. That was one of the worst things that ever happened to the people here in the Western Hemisphere. This papal bulls that came out the Vatican in 1452 by Pope. I can't think of his name. But that order said it was a Catholic edict to white people, to Europeans, that if you go anywhere in the world and you should happen to find people that don't look like you, act like you, talk like you, think like you, and refuse to convert to Roman Catholicism, you have the right to do two things to them. You can either enslave them or kill them. And anything that they had of value to you, you could take it from them. And you have the blessings of the Roman Catholic Church. But you have to give 10% back to the church. This was how all of this religion and crap started, you know, when they, you know, tithes and offerings. That should be a voluntary thing if that's what you believe in. But don't force this on people.
Well, Jay, an interesting quick story. During the filming of Boarding School, interviewed 3 elder sisters that all went to boarding school, rounded up, taken to the school. They said when they got there, they were given 3 choices. They could either go to the Methodist Church or Catholic Church. And I said, well, how did you pick which one you were going to? And they all looked at each other and smiled, and they said, whoever had the best cookies. So that's what they knew about religion.
Wow.
So we as a people in the Western Hemisphere, we've been hoodwinked since the beginning of this whole mess. Marilyn, let me ask you a question. You know, this whole thing about the Dawes rolls, which created the separation of Indian people. I've always felt like this. No white man, a white person, has the right to tell me that I'm an Indian or I qualify as a pedigree. What the hell is wrong with that? I don't need you to tell me who the hell I am. The first time I went to Oklahoma and I met you, I met a lot of people there. And everybody I met there says, I've heard of you. You're the Indian on radio in Washington, D.C. Who's your family? Who are your people? That's the question that we get when we get together. We ask each other. We don't ask you anything about no damn blood quantum. Or do you have a tribal card that tells us who you are? No, that's a white man's thing. You know, I don't need your damn label. Marilyn, what do you think?
Well, unfortunately, there's a fair number of people out there that have really bought into blood quantum, and they don't know that much about the history of the tribes. And I think some of these people would just be shocked to know that in 1860, 1880, 1900, nobody really had a concept of blood quantum. It was something falsely brought in to destroy the tribes. But the idea that if this white man from D.C. said your blood quantum is too low for some tribes, that the people didn't even get registered. And then they got to pushing, well, you need to be a certain degree of blood. And again, with these made up numbers, because if you look, for instance, in the Cherokee Nation on the 1880 census, there's no degrees of blood there. The adopted people who came into the tribe, like if you look at the list of Delawares, Shawnees, who received citizenship in the 1860s, no blood degrees there either. The people from the Eastern Band who came to the Cherokee Nation, people in the Eastern Band who came into the Cherokee Nation about 1879, 1880, no blood degrees there. Now there's clans written down, but no degrees of blood. So like I said, it's a lot of hoping. And some of the tribes that have gotten federal recognition in the 20th century, they just, the chief or the Miko or the whatever they called him, they just made up some blood degrees to stick down there. That's all it really is. But I mean, there are people that it's just a matter of life and death with him. And it's just a scam. It's a scam to destroy the tribes. And so the sooner and there's people that they don't seem to get it, that if this blood quantum continues on, you have a tribe of 1,000 people and you have to be a quarter blood, it's not going to be that long before you don't have a tribe at all. And whatever reservation land that you have, it's probably going to go back to the federal government or maybe even the state if all the Indians in the tribe disappear. So I hope that the time is going to come that this blood quantum is going to go away. But as I said, sometimes you look on Facebook, people attacking each other about their degrees of blood and openly saying you need to be a half blood to hold office. You need to be a quarter blood to be in this tribe. Well, in the federal prisons, or formerly in the federal prisons, I can name some people that stole the tribe's monies, and they went to prison. Some in Oklahoma, when they were sitting officials, chiefs, deputy chiefs, tribal councilmen. I mean, did having a card that said they were a half blood, did that make them honest men? No.
No, 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 no. You mentioned tribal council. I understand that, Marilyn, you're running for tribal council. And this is
Yes, I am.
but you know what? I know something else too. This is the very first time you ever ran for office anywhere. So why did you decide to run for tribal council?
Well, I believe that I'm qualified to be in the council, and things were. It just seemed to me that things were coming together, and this was a good time. My, you know, I'm married, and I have a grown daughter. My grandchildren are small. In a few more years, they're going to want grandma and grandpa to go to ball games and things like that. So if I want to serve on the council, I think I need to do it while they're younger. But at any rate, I feel that I'm qualified. I have a history. Um, I'm a person who's been willing to put up my time, put up my money to serve the people, to be willing to stand alone. I know Cherokee law. I know Cherokee history. And yes, for those people that it's important to know, well, who are your Indian people? I am descended from a Cherokee Indian, George Fields. Uh, the yes, I have African ancestry, but as I said, I know who my people are. I have a plan. I have a plan out there that I think will be better for the people, to help the people. I've been helping people all my life, regardless of freedman ancestry, Shawnee ancestry, by blood, this tribe, that tribe, doesn't matter. I just want to serve the people.
And sounds like, Marilyn, that you really want to bring unity to, what we like to refer to as Blendians. Blendians come in all colors and, tribes and nations and all of those things. But, because of the laws that the federal government puts on tribal nations in order for them to maintain their quote unquote sovereign status, we know that, there are restrictions around who some tribes allow to be citizens. So it sounds like you really want to bring unity to indigenous people, regardless of that blend. And we've been talking about blood quantum. We've been talking about Black Indians. It sounds like generally that one of the primary things you want to influence is to stop that, to increase that unity.
Yes, community building, trying to not just give people better services by finding the services where they are, but help people find the communities where they're at. And again, this is a large position. A lot of people may not know that there are Indian centers, urban Indian centers in different places. People have the right, for instance, say to set up a new Cherokee community. They can do that. It's
Okay. I'm going to make a bold move right now. Marilyn, I've known you for a long time. And I've known that you've been a straight up, honest person. And everything you've done in your life has been to help somebody. So tonight, I would like to officially endorse you for your run for tribal council. Anybody else?
Well, the only people that can vote in an election, in a Cherokee election, are the tribal citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And for a number of years, me living in Dallas, I was considered an at-large citizen. And we have 2 at-large council people that basically take care of all the Cherokees outside of the 14 county parameter of the Cherokee Nation. I think MARILYN, being from that area and knowing the people and knowing the needs and wants, would be a fabulous council person. And I would endorse her as well.
Okay, so MARILYN, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. When we get off this show tonight, I got telephone numbers for a lot of Cherokees that are members of the nation, the Cherokee Nation, all over the country. And I'm going to get busy tomorrow and call them and tell them the right candidate for that position is MARILYN VANN. And if they ask me, well, what do you know about her? I'm going to give them a good 10 or 15 minute spiel about what I could talk about you for hours. But see, I know your heart and I know where you are for the people. So you got my endorsement, and I'll make sure other people endorse you too.
Beautiful.
well, I really appreciate that. That is I need help to win this race. Again, I've never ran before. And there are people who have ran. I'm not saying what district or where or who, that I think that they just went out there for the salary. But I'm not running out. I'm retired. I'm a retired engineering team leader, and I'm not running here. I'm not running because I need the salary. I'm retired, as I said, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and go to work on day 1 if elected.
Okay,
Awesome.
folks, I'm going to say this too, MARILYN. I'm going to send you a $50 check to help you in your campaign. And I encourage anybody and everybody else, you want the right person in there, you need to not call, but you need to go to VANNATLARGE, VANN, VANN, VANNatlarge.com. Check out our website. And if you believe me, I want you to send her some money, help her win this race. What do you think, Steve? Am I doing the right thing?
Absolutely. And MARILYN, I've got a whole lot of family in California, along with good friends, my good friend Sue up in Northern California, and certainly want to pass along your endorsement to them. I mean, I know 30 to 40 family members that vote religiously. So I'll be speaking to them as well.
I really
Now-
appreciate your assistance, my friends. That is just wonderful, because winning a race like this, it's not just going to be one person or 2 people. It's going to have to be a community of people who support a candidate, especially someone like myself that's coming in at the grassroots, and to win the race, to get over the finish line.
So this discussion actually lends itself to something that a lot of our listeners have an interest in, and that's tracing their native ancestry. So we get a lot of questions about that. A lot of people asking for help doing that, and of course we don't provide that support. That's not our expertise. But Stephen, you've got a film called "How to Trace Your Native American Heritage." Can you talk about that a little bit?
So, How to Trace Your Native American Heritage is a great story, really. My dad, after years and years updating our records with the Cherokee Nation registration, handed me my tribal citizen cards and my CDIB cards from the Department of the Interior. And he said, these two pieces of identification will be the most controversial pieces of identification you'll ever have. And I didn't know what he really meant at that time, but as time went on, I certainly understood that. And friends would ask, they'd be intrigued about Indian cards. They said, well, how do you get them? Or, I mean, who can get them? I got so tired of answering the questions. I said, I'm just going to film about this, make it available to everybody. And it really was a company builder. It was the title was so popular and still is today. I like to hear from people that said they've seen it and it's inspired them to get their tribal citizenship. You know, everybody you've heard, I'm sure 100 times like I have, well, I'm part Indian, but I really don't know how to figure out what part Indian I am. So this gives them direction. You know, it doesn't guarantee. And the fact is, it's a rather rigorous effort to get this done.
But at least it's a roadmap to the
Yes, absolutely.
Now, everybody that's listening today, watching today, the first 10 people that like my show on YouTube and leave a comment, I will send you a copy, the first 10 people, of A Trail of Tears, Cherokee story, American story. And Steve, can I give 5 copies of the How to Trace Your Native Roots?
Absolutely. Native American Heritage, How to Trace Your Native American Heritage.
Exactly. So out of those 15 people, the first 15 people that like the show on YouTube, leave a comment, you're going to get either a copy of How to Trace Your Native American Heritage or The Trail of Tears, Cherokee Legacy.
Yeah, beautiful. And be sure to comment so we know who you are for this last show.
Leave your information, because if you don't leave your information, we do not know how to get in touch with you and where to send your DVD.
Yeah.
Now, those are available online for other people that want to purchase them. They can also download the video from your richheape.com website. Is that right?
That's correct. www.richheape.com. They can purchase the hard copy DVDs or streaming, whichever best for them.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break and come back in a few minutes. Give everybody a chance to get up, stretch your legs, and get a drink of water. Don't go anywhere. This is the American Indian Indigenous Peoples Truth. Justice for all. The most dangerous show on media anywhere. Would you agree, Steve?
Right on, Jay.
Marilyn?
I'm not scared of you, Jay. I'm sorry.
I'm not afraid of you either. Some might be afraid of you, though. They need to be.
Don't make me go night wolf on you. Okay, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere, folks. And send your
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for indulging us with that brief break. All right. Jay is going to be back with us in just a minute. I'm going to look at YouTube. I'm going to see how many comments and likes that we have. And I'm going to, right now, I'm going to read out the names that are going to get one of these two Rich Heape films. So I'm seeing Stephen Redclay, Tanya Beatty, Arnold Murray, Soul Power Ministries Love 101, and those are the names right now that I see on YouTube. So please go to the YouTube channel, Winter Nightwolf Live, and like this episode, like the subscription, and leave a comment. So we still got some slots available for these movies. All right.
I'm back. Now,
Okay.
I just got a telephone call. I had to go and listen to this woman. I want the two of you, Marilyn and Steve. But before we do that, we got Tanya Beatty. Let me put my glasses on. I will definitely check the DVD out. And Charles Tadoka Moore, who is the great-great-grandson of one of the 39 people that were hung in Mankato by Abraham Lincoln, says no blood quantum. We don't need blood quantum. But the telephone call, the lady said to me, would you please mention something about the missing and murdered Indigenous women? Marilyn, I'll start with you.
Yes. Many people are unaware that the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women in this country is in very high proportions, and in part because of the laws on a lot of the reservations. There's very little law enforcement. Because the marshals, the light horse, whatever the tribal police are, they're really not equipped. There's not enough people to do it. The federal government, doesn't really care, or they don't want to spend the resources to do that. And some people may or may not know that on a reservation, the state does not have the power to go in there and enforce to arrest people. Now, maybe if there's a compact, but the state cannot try these people. So there needs to be more pressure put on the Congress people and the like to increase the ability for the federal government and the tribes to prosecute these cases. You don't hear a lot, but yes, please pray. Please pray for the murdered and missing women, but also let's let the government put some resources into this so there can be some justice for these families.
And you know something else, Marilyn, before I get Steve's comment, is that I am so happy that the Cherokee Nation said no more blood quantum is required. Now, if all the other tribes would say that and do that, then a lot of this problem of blood quantum and becoming a member of your tribe would be eliminated. You know, I mean, it's crazy. I believe blood quantum was put in place to eliminate Indians.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question about it, along with allotment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say something about it. The present chief said no more blood quantum.
You know, Jay, it all comes down to funding. I think Indigenous women with different nations and tribes that live on reservation are really looked at on the outside as second-class citizens. And there is not funding towards that police that could help with these investigations and try to track these people down. I mean, that's why it happens so much, is because the the derelicts out there know that there's not a whole lot of enforcement behind this.
I would tell you this, Steve, if it was white women, oh my God, yes, there would be a federal legislation before Congress in a matter of minutes. But because it's Indian women, you know, the people that they tried to destroy when they came over here, they could care less.
And also there are so many, even though the numbers are really, really, really high for Indigenous people, missing and murdered Indigenous people, there's so many people missing and murdered who are miscategorized. They find them and they don't know what their background is and what their ancestry is. So they categorize them as other or something else or black or, you know, mulatto or something. But there are still, the numbers are not even as high as they actually are because of the miscategorization.
This is worse than this whole thing of Asian hate. You know, there was a woman on a subway that some young black crazy girl decided to beat up real bad, only because she thought that she was Asian. The woman was a Mexican woman, you know, so I am sick of all this. I really am, you know. If I see it, then somebody's going down, because to be a human being, we need to learn how to talk to each other and stop looking and talking at each other, you know. Black people, Native people, Asian people, white people, we're all the same. If a white person got hurt in an accident and needed my type of blood, you think I wouldn't do it? I'd give it to him, because that's a human life. Also, the number of natives murdered by police is running second to blacks. Well, that's what the statistic says. But when I was on radio for 22 years, I would get calls all the time about Native people being murdered by the police. There was a story one time where this white cop ran up into a house on a reservation and beat up this little girl, got her outside, her uncle came to her rescue, and what happened? The cop shot her and killed him. You know, all of this stuff is just senseless. And if we don't stand up as men and protect our women, I don't give a damn what color she is. If you see some abuse going on and you don't step up and try to help her, then you're a coward. Simple as that. You know, when I see a woman get abused, I think about my mother. I think about my aunts and my grandmother, my sisters. That's what I think about. 4 out of 5 Indigenous women are affected by violence all the time. So, you know, we need to, you know, somebody else say something before I do the night wolf thing, and then I'll get kicked off the air for someone.
So Stephen, so Black Indians, an American Story, would you consider a part 2 to that?
You know, of course, I'd always consider anything when it comes to information and storytelling, but it would be very hard to go in and do a sequel of, I mean, you know, we have such great people. I would hate to dilute it, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. Great message. The James Earl Jones, who I told when we went into this that every podcast, everything I did, I would thank him. So I'm thanking him again tonight publicly for his involvement. The Neville brothers, Bob Dylan, all the people that were involved in this. Mm-hmm. I would always consider it. It would really have to be ground shaking, though.
Okay. Well, I got one for you, Steve.
There you go.
Well, first of all, before I tell you that, I mentioned that. Everybody out there, did you know that the Neville brothers were American Indian people?
Wild Tapachulas.
Yeah. But, Steve, I think you ought to seriously think about making a film about these missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story. Unfortunately, it seems like every story that I tell is so depressing. It takes me 6 months to come out of it.
Yeah, but You got me, bro. You know that.
Yeah.
We've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I got broad shoulders. You can cry on them. You know.
Yeah. It's a very hard
Steve-
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got a woman here who just said, "Thank you, Steve, for putting our story out there." Tanya Evans Beatty.
Hey, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah.
So,
And
Stephen, of all the wonderful people you've had in your films, who would you say is the most interesting? I mean, I don't know all of them. I know you had Wes Studi. You've had a bunch of people. Who was the most interesting, and why?
Well, it's like saying, who's your favorite child, you know? They're all so great. I just love Mr. Jones. He is such a gentleman.
mm-hmm.
Was so amenable to work with us, gave support. I mean, not financial support, but support to get this story out there. Wes Studi, I mean, what a champion actor this guy is. Just received an Academy Award 2 years ago. Wes is such a talent. The Neville brothers, I became very close with Cyril and Aaron during the process of them lending their music for that film. It just all worked so well. It was just serendipitous. It's one of those things that just fell into place. Those don't happen all the time.
And are they filmed generally in a specific area, or do you just go where the company is located?
Oh no, I travel all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
We Black Indians, we filmed all up and down the East Coast.
Yep.
We went to California, to the Riverside School, to Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a huge part of our production money is spent in travel, and
Right.
it's very expensive. Fortunately, we've always been able to self finance our own films, so we don't have to answer to anybody. I went into an issue one time with the National Park Service that wanted to team up and do a film, and they never liked our script, and they said, you can't produce anything that is not of record in the National Historical Record in DC. And I said, well, then we're bad partners, because I produce from the Indian point of view, the Indian perspective.
That goes back to the white man feeding you a bunch of crap all the time.
Yeah, and it was, when I was making the Trail of Tears, they told us there was nobody that really suffered along the trip, and I told them, I said, well, if I produced this like you wanted me to, they'd all be riding in a wagon with a box lunch.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Before Andrew Jackson put our people on the Trail of Tears, we call it the Trail of Where They Cried. By the 1930s, even Justice John Marshall, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, tried to protect them. But Andrew Jackson was such a butthole that he says, okay, so you got your laws. I got my army. Try and stop me.
Yeah, who's gonna protect your people?
Right. So
open invitation to come and take.
Yeah, right. God.
And that's what they did.
Well, I tell you what, if I'd been living back there, y'all be talking about me today.
The federal government would love for us to think that they came in and saved the Southeastern Indians, now the 5 civilized tribes, make you believe that they scooped them up from living on a blanket.
No.
People were highly, highly educated,
mm-hmm.
beautiful plantation homes, more educated than the white people.
Right. And that was the problem. That was the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And the first thing they did when they relocated to Park Hill and to Tahlequah, they built the Women's Seminary, which is the first free education west of the Mississippi. And they started educating their people again all over. So Cherokees are a very smart group of people.
Yeah. Well, actually, not just Cherokees, but Native people. We've always been, smarter than the Europeans that came across the water. It's just
invaders.
Yeah. They just got a bunch of tricks. But, you know, we can go to the Mayans. We can go to the Aztecs. The Mayans were doing brain surgery.
Yeah.
Before the white man even got here.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just jealous. You know, they wanted what we had. So somebody asked me, well, why did they come here? I said, because they wanted what we had, and they took it. And we weren't used to these barbaric type of people that everything was at the point of a gun. Religion was introduced to Indians at the point of a gun. We had religions, and it worked for us. We knew how to grow food, and we had herbs to heal the body of almost every disease. Now, Stephen Redclay said there's a whole community on YouTube who are American Indians who have traced their ancestors and share ancient history and would love to be in a movie representing their ancestors. Well, go to Steve Heape's website, write him a letter, communicate with him. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Yeah, you know, because they never talk about the Egyptians. They were some of the smartest people in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Greatest engineers known to man.
That's right. How do you build a pyramid?
Yeah.
And they still don't know. They're so busy breaking into the tombs of the pharaohs, trying to get all the wealth they can get, than to try to basically understand about humanity and how it started here on Earth.
Yes.
I'm sick of this mess. I really am, you know. So anyway, I know the hour is late and we're past 8 o'clock. And I want to say thank you to you, MARILYN. You know I love you. You're my sister, right?
Yes, I love you too, Jay. It's always so great for us to get together.
You know it. And Steve, you know I love you, man. You've been my brother for years, many, many years.
Yeah, you know, I don't ever remember. I probably did, but Jay, you were so nice to represent us at I think it was the Smithsonian, when you went and introduced our film one night at a screening at the Smithsonian, because we couldn't make it. We couldn't make it to DC, and you were kind enough to step up and offer to do that, and really appreciated that. Not
a problem. And hopefully we got at least another 40 or 50 years to stay on this earth together.
I hope so.
Yeah, man. Sandra, you know I love you. Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jay. I just want to comment real quick. Someone is asking us to address Rick Santorum's comments.
Oh, God. You talking about that idiot? Where in the world did that fool come from? He look at him. He looks as dumb as he is. You know, there was nothing here before white people came here. Hey, stupid. Wake the hell up. Jesus Christ. Excuse me. He said, I blame the consultant for my Native American remarks. No, it's your damn stupidity and arrogance and ignorance and arrogance that guide your mouth to say some of the dumb stuff that you say out of your mouth. Everybody has a brain, but I'm wondering if your brain was put on hold at birth. I don't know. But anyway.
It's all politics, Jay. It's all politics.
I know. It ain't but nothing but a damn game. He was elected to the United States Senate from Pennsylvania in 1994. He served 2 terms until losing the 2006 election bid. A Roman Catholic Santorum. Oh, well, that explains it. He's a Catholic, okay? Who opposes abortion and same-sex marriage and embraced the cultural warrior image during his Senate tenure. He's not a warrior. You want to be a warrior, do like we did. Raise your hand and go and join the armed forces where they need you to be a warrior, dummy. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
He's looking for votes.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna cancel his votes and him and his mess too. But anyway.
I don't think he'll be running for office again.
No, not after the comments I made. But anyway, thank you, Sandra. You know I love you. And I also Vince is standing back here giving you the thumbs up.
Yes. All right. Hey, Vince.
Vince.
Hey, Tom.
Vince,
the master musician.
Yeah, he's the one that wrote the score for our show. So, Steve, if you ever need a good composer, this Piscataway here can write for you. And we can't forget Leslie Fry. I wish she would come into the picture. Leslie, where are you? Turn yourself on.
Why are you doing this to me?
Because we love you and appreciate you.
Love you all too.
Hey, Les.
And you hear,
Hey, good to see you.
Hi,
Leslie's
Marilyn.
Hey there.
the woman. She is not
Great
the
show,
man, she's
you
the
all.
woman.
Great show.
thank you very much.
We have so many questions coming in, Jay. We haven't had enough time. We're gonna have to have these guys back. Stephen and Marilyn, part 2.
Will you guys come back? I know you will.
Jay, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and it's always an interesting conversation. Hello
Absolutely.
out there, and as I said, my friend Sue up in Northern California, and hope to see you again soon, Jay.
Next time you come to DC, you're staying at my house, okay?
All right, I'll be there.
Okay.
Whoop, whoop.
So
Hey,
anyway,
I've enjoyed it. This has been great again.
Yes.
Marilyn, you stayed at my house too before.
Yeah. I remember going out there and you had a big bonfire and it was cold, but it was toasty close to that fire. It was a great night.
It's the
Absolutely.
Cherokee way.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So
And
listen,
best of luck in your run for councilman at large, Marilyn. We wish
Thank
a
you
lot
so
of
much. I
success
really
there.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah.
everybody here.
I'm gonna get on the campaign road for you. You know, myself. I'm gonna call everybody I know and tell them, look, vote for her. If you're a member of the Cherokee Nation, damn it, you better vote for her. I find out you don't, I'm gonna show up on your doorstep.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Only for the at-large people. You know, if they're around Tahlequah or somewhere like that, they can't vote for me because they live in the district on the reservation.
Mm.
Okay, they can't vote for you.
No, everybody can't. Everybody in the tribe that's a registered voter cannot vote for me. Only the people that are registered to vote at large. And that would be people living in Oklahoma City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C.
Oh, there's a bunch of those tribal members that live here in DC.
Yeah. There's certainly people on the East Coast,
Uh-huh.
Maryland, Baltimore, those places.
I'm gonna put the appeal out. So anyway, I want to see you be the next council person for that district, baby. Okay.
I'm working hard on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just a final note for our viewers. Be sure if you commented on the YouTube page and liked it, be sure to go to Nightwolf Productions with an S.media, nightwolfproductions.media, and go to the contact us page and send us your information so we can get your DVD out.
okay, and you know the other thing too, Marilyn, the composer sitting here, he said anything that we need to do to get you elected, we're gonna do it. And he's a 20-year retired Army guy.
Hey, I like hearing that.
Okay.
That's what you call a real team.
Yeah, and he's also Piscataway and Black.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate this. I could not have done this tonight without all of you. So I love you all, and I'll leave you in these words, and I think Marilyn and Steve will hear this. Danada, Guai, Guado.
Wado.
Wado.
You shut up.
I just want to remind everybody or let you know that you think this show is incredible tonight. Wait till you see next week's show. Dr. Carmen Johnson, a woman that was targeted by the former governor of the state of Maryland for a crime she did not commit and went to jail. Well, guess who's going to be on with her? Judge Joe Brown. He's going to be on this Nightwolf show next week. Judge Joe Brown and Dr. Carmen Johnson. Y'all tune in now. I'll be looking for you. Dana Da, go I love you all.